another each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
All right. Still doing some sharing here. I think I have 19 days left on my whatever. Kind of sucks. Last 2 nights I've been having nightmares. And that has to do with being cut off from Facebook and shit too. See, that's what my nightmares are about. It's about groups of people blaming me for shit that I don't do. And everybody hates me for it. Just like normal life. That's exactly what happens in this life. So, good morning, Daryl. Good to see you.
Morning.
Oh, I'm going to turn that down. Woo.
Was that loud?
Yeah. Well, I was listening.
I've been told that before in my lifetime.
When I wake up, I put on happy music. So I have my music turned up because, rock and roll, right? And yeah, there are things worse than death out there. If you're scared of death, you're on a good road. But a lot of things out there that are a lot scarier than death, and we alcoholics have experienced them, like being so sick and full of hate and rage that we hurt from top to bottom. The spiritual malady can be worse than death. Just something I saw Peterson say, and I agreed with it. So, got some podcasts coming up this weekend. Getting back to that. Yeah. Good speakers. I have one coming on. Well, he hasn't booked yet, but he's kind of controversial, but that's why I like him. But he's been sober for 20 years. You got to be doing something right. He's just a shit talker, but it's a different experience, man. It's a different experience,
You and I should do that again.
Yeah, let's pick a topic. And I mean, I'm boosting while I'm waiting on our other stuff. I'm just focused on my podcast, and I'm actually writing a book. I started writing a book.
Topic goes.
It's going. I wanted something that was a theme, and the theme is going to be about finding your home. And for an alcoholic, it took me until I was 45 to find where my home was. So I've got a heck of a story there of different things. And I think everybody can kind of, that doesn't just go for alcoholism. There's a lot of lonely people out there that are trying to find their people. A lot of people out there like that. So, welcome to the Daily Trudge. We will be going to be reading out of As Bill Sees It and the 12 by 12 today. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. We are going to be in step 7. Of course, humility. Humility, I believe, is the principle behind step 7. I don't have that memorized. I'm a little scared that they're coming out with a plain English big book because I'm a big book thumper and I have it memorized. I'm going to have to rememorize a whole book, man. I'm a little upset about that. That's a joke. Humility. Yep. Step 7. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about, I am. I've got my own opinion on it. Who's going to write it? In what plain English are we going to do this? Things like that, I wonder. But all right. It looks like you might be frozen. Either that or you're just really good at sitting still. Blink or something. No, you're froze. All right. So I'm going to start out in As Bill Sees It. Oh, and he's back. All right. It'll do that. I don't know what's going on the internet.
No, that was me looking up something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it'll pause your it'll pause it. All right. This portion was out of a letter from 1966. First we first reach for a little humility, knowing that we shall perish of alcoholism if we do not. So the gift of desperation here. After a time, though we may still rebel somewhat. I did rebel a little bit when I first came in, and I'll tell you why. Because it's hard being wrong about everything. It is. For the first 2 years, I was just wrong. No, Dion, that's wrong. No, Dion. And I had to be okay with hearing that. I had, talk about a 10th step. I had to realize that I was wrong about almost everything. When it came to living life and instincts and doing things, I didn't even pay my bills right. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday, I think. We'll pay our alcohol bills before we pay the electricity bill.
Yeah.
I would buy alcohol before I'd buy food. You bet. If there wasn't alcohol at the house when I got there, there was going to be by the time I got there. And then food was secondary for me. And all these things combined, and not sleeping. And we do rebel a little bit somewhat because, well, you're being reborn and it's an uncomfortable process. And stripping yourself of your old self to be reborn into a new self is highly uncomfortable. And what do they say? You only have to change one thing. Everything.
I was told I had to change everything with the exception of my gender, and that was optional.
There you go. And it is optional. Yeah, we don't mind that stuff. We found in AA that to each their own, man, and it's all right. Sometimes it's silly, like my first higher power was Batman, and my sponsor let me get away with it for about a month. And then he said, hey, Dion, I get it. I understand. But we got to be a little bit more serious about the program here. And he was right. I was screwing around. I was rebelling. And I had to think of an actual higher power that worked for me that wasn't Batman.
Well, they told me that I could pick anything to be my higher power, a tree, a hockey puck, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I had a conversation with my sponsor, and he goes, if you have some kind of an inanimate object, and I didn't, but if you had some kind of an inanimate object, it's hard to ask an inanimate object to do something for you.
Yeah, like a doorknob. People say doorknob.
Yeah, doorknob. That's classic.
And I get it because, who am I to say that won't work? Even a little beginning, they say, is a good start, so at least they're believing in something. Even if they're screwing around, but I even know that screwing around, that they do kind of mean it because there's a fear there being emotional about it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said yesterday, I was the epitome of the spiritual experience, education and variety. I came to, and then I came to believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Those are steps 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
All right. The rest of this says, we commence to practice humility because it is the right thing to do. Then comes the day when, finally freed from a large degree of rebellion, we practice humility because we deeply want it as a way of life. Where humility in the beginning was, when I first came in, I combined humility with humiliation. And I really need to understand that these were two different words. That humiliation was when I was 13, walking up to the mall because it was cool at the time to go to the mall. I was a mall rat. All the cool kids are sitting there. I spit, and I spit on myself. They make fun of me. That's humiliation, right? Where humility was more about asking for help and meaning it, understanding that all of my best thoughts got me to where I was, and maybe being wrong is the right way to go.
I always have this. My sponsor told me when I was new, kind of comments, but it's so true because I literally was in his hip pocket constantly. And one of the first assignments that he gave me, this is, well, you know who he is. I won't say his name, but he was the one that told me get out of the ignorance and into the education of my disease.
Yeah.
So one of the things he made me do, and somewhere I still have a Post-it note where I wrote it down. He told me to look up and memorize the definition of humble.
Yeah.
And one of the definitions that I found and I stuck with was modest, not proud, aware of one's own shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to incorporate that in my life daily.
Yeah. Well,
I don't always do it very well, but
it's right here. But we try the best that we can, and that's really all God's going to ask of us. We know we're going to make mistakes. Having or showing feelings of humility rather than pride or arrogance, not showing feeling of superiority towards other. And here's yours: modest, being aware of one's shortcomings, reflecting a spirit of submission or courteous, yielding to the opinion, wishes, or judgment of another. Or, yeah, Daryl is live. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Amber must be here. She's picking on me.
Hi, Amber.
Jakes, buy me a Coke. Too late. I got one. Let's move over to the 12 by 12. All right. We had this on page 75. I'm going to start on the middle of page 74, though. But when we have taken a square look at some of these defects, have discussed them with another, and become willing to have them removed, our thinking about humility commences to have a wider meaning. That's what's great about humility, is it takes on new meaning as you get into the program, where in the beginning, humility was hard, asking for help, being wrong, making changes in everything in my life. This is a tall order, which is why we need a guide. But I found as I got into the fourth and fifth step, my humility changed over to how can I be free of these things so that I can be closer to God and help more people. Now my humility is about character building. Every day I humbly offer myself to God every single morning. And I do that with my third step prayer. And God, whatever is going on with me, we got to remove it so that I can be of maximum service to you and the world around me today, and watch football. So it is Sunday for me. So I watch Broncos. That's it, but only because I have every day of my life since 1983. So even in jail, I always caught football. Bronco game.
I saw their first Super Bowl from the common room of prison,
Yeah.
where Dallas just trounced them.
It had murderized us. And then San Francisco murderized us. Those were rough. We did not belong in those Super Bowls. I will agree with that.
Well, that time I wasn't living in Denver, so
No, no, that would
it
have
was
been.
just what was on the TV, and
Well,
I
if it was
wasn't
Super
I
Bowl,
wasn't the one going to change the channel.
oh hell no,
Not in the common room.
nope. You watch what's on. Um, Either that or go get the Scrabble. But this time, in all probability, we've gained some measure of release from our more devastating handicaps. Like for me, that would have been anger. We enjoy in which there is something like real peace of mind. And yeah, this does happen in 6 and 7 as we understand that we're moving towards a perfection that we're never going to reach, but we're going to try for it. Some days I'm not even going to be close. Other days I'll be on fire. You know, um, but all of these I think require balance because it goes on to say to those who have hereto known only excitement. That means these are the emotions that are overdone by alcoholics that doesn't allow us peace of mind. Excitement, depression, or anxiety. In other words, to all of us, this newfound peace is a priceless gift. Yeah, finally I got to a point where I didn't have to tell Dion, would you shut up? Because my brain wouldn't shut up for a long time. Did you go through that where your brain just it
Oh,
was on
I
overload?
still
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I mean, what if you saw my post? It's like I made that post at 1:00 this morning.
I didn't read the whole thing. I just woke up, so I didn't read. I didn't quite review it.
No,
I just
I was just thinking, it's
yeah,
it's my birthday.
it is. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
30
And
what?
so
30
and
years.
so my brain was doing all of this.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know,
when you get higher in the numbers, do you still, like I'm at 8 years, and when I was coming up on it, I did a lot of reflecting. Does that ever really stop?
no,
Okay. So
and
when the
it
birthday
shouldn't,
comes up, yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
You should always be reflective. Um, whatever the experiences were, and how did I get here? One of the things that, in fact, I was going to write a post about it, and then I got your notification. Um, remember walking in the rooms and you're new, you're raw, and you had motherfuckers going, they got 20 years, they got, how whatever, people like Dancing Joe and those guys.
yeah,
And you're going, oh, you're so full of shit.
yeah,
I couldn't relate
yeah. I couldn't.
to
Yeah,
that. I could relate to the guys getting a 6-month chip or a 30-day chip and stuff like that. It was like, ain't nobody gonna stay sober that long.
yeah,
And then I woke up, and like today, woke up and it's like, here I am.
yeah. And how many years?
34.
34. Okay, I thought it was 38, but I was thinking my
No,
mom.
34 today.
We're still very, very impressive. Good job, man. I'm
You
very
know
proud,
what's
and I'm happy
Thank
you're
you.
my sponsor. I
I
yeah, just say thank you.
it's not me, it's God.
I know, but you did some work. You did a little bit of
Well,
work.
yeah,
We're gonna be
you
happy.
do the footwork, and
Yeah,
and if you do what the program explains to do, you might stumble. You'd be like me, and you stumble, and you don't do it gracefully, and
Yeah.
all that other shit. But you still progress,
Yeah.
and at some point, you recover.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my motivations throughout these years have changed. Eh, why am I doing this? Why, blah blah blah. And one of the biggest ones for me was, we've talked about belonging, finally belonging somewhere.
Yep.
And it's like I told you yesterday, is like I came back for the hug,
Yeah.
and people actually weren't going, "Oh fuck, there he is," type shit anymore.
Yeah.
And so I remember. Did you ever go to Day by Day? The
Oh,
old
that was
Day by
long,
Day.
yeah, long, long, long time ago.
Above the kitchen, it said "Welcome home."
Yeah. Yep.
I was home.
Uh-huh.
Finally, I was
Yeah.
home.
And you and I were just kind of talking. Yeah, I was talking to you about that at the beginning, that I'm working on a book, and it's called Searching for Home. And it's exactly about that, finding where my place is, where home is.
There's
Home is a feeling, not a place. It's a
right.
it's a part of
I
being.
agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. It's like what makes you feel whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
When
and-
when people come to my house, I want them to feel like this is their house too. I want them to feel like they're
right. It's like
yeah, that's
you come to my place. It's like I'll ask you the first time if you want something to drink or what have you. After that, if you're
exactly.
thirsty and hungry, that's your fucking fault.
Yeah.
It's like the refrigerator's in there,
Yep. Yep.
type of deal.
Yeah.
But
I think I mean, even growing up, that's how our house was. The kids tend to gather at our house.
yeah,
So
it was
um,
just the way it was.
uh,
And then when I got custody of my kids, in '92, I actually bought a townhome in Littleton, and my house. It was me and two of my three kids. Became the house.
yeah.
I didn't know if I was coming home to my two kids or if I was coming home to 18 kids.
Yeah.
And all the parents knew me and blah, 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 what have you. And it's like, I would literally wake up in the morning and be stepping over bodies
Yeah. Yep.
because that was the sense of satisfaction. And it's like to be trusted. Oh my God.
Yeah. People trust me with their children. That
Well,
is
and the children would trust me to be there.
yeah, and the children want to be around you because you don't stink.
Oh, and then there's that.
Yeah. Something new indeed has been added, where humility formerly stood for force feeding on humble pie. It now begins to mean the nourishing ingredient which can give us serenity. All right. This improved perception of humility starts another revolutionary change in our outlook. Our eyes began to open to the immense values which come straight out of our painful ego puncturing. Until now, our lives had largely been devoted to running from pain and problems. We fled from them as from a plague. We never wanted to deal with the fact of suffering. Escape via the bottle was always our solution. Character building through suffering building might be all right for saints, but it certainly didn't appeal to us. Wow, alcoholics and learning the hard way, you know. Yeah, and I think we're trying to be saints. Where does it say it in the book? We like to be called precocious, and that really hit me because, yeah, I absolutely love being called precocious. It was, made me terminally unique. It set me apart. You know, but it never worked. It never satisfied me. It didn't do anything. Um, you know, and right here, yeah, all I did was run from pain and problems by drinking. I would just drink my problems away. So alcohol became my solution, until it was no longer a solution anymore and it became a dissolution and started dissolving everything in my life. So, um, thank God for what happened, because I'm glad I'm here. Then in AA, we looked and listened. Everywhere we saw failure and misery being transformed by humility into priceless assets. And that's where we come in. Because, gosh, we have a lot of misery and failure in our lives. And now my story is gold. And it helps that I'm no longer ashamed of who I am. I'm no longer ashamed of where I come from or what I did, because I love me today. And if all of that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm sure that Daryl will be right back. It looked like he got a phone call or something. Or he was screwing around and pressed the wrong button, which is most likely the case. We heard story after story of how humility had brought strength out of weakness. By Felicia.
I pushed the wrong button. It's
I
like
told you.
I was looking to see how to chat, and it didn't work out in Daryl's favor.
Yeah, on the phone it may not work. We took bets while you were gone. I was right. And then Amber says, "Bye, Felicia." Followed by just kidding. Because we're Virgos and we're usually.
I was going to reply to Amber.
Yeah, I try and put those up, and if you want to reply, you can always say it out loud too. You're right too. Yeah. You want to know why? Because we're Virgo, and we're almost always right. All right. That's just pride. In every case, pain. Oh, we heard story after story of how humility had brought strength out of weakness. In every case, pain had been the price of admission into a new life, but this admission price had purchased more than we expected. It brought a measure of humility, which we soon discovered to be the healer of pain. We began to fear pain less and desired humility more than ever. And that is because the more humility I have in my life, the more courage I seem to have. The more I trust in my higher power, the less pain I have. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual pain, that I was talking about earlier, that there's things worse than death, like your soul being ripped from your body. That can hurt from head to toe, man. So humility became the answer to which we found less pain and more serenity. I think that's a pretty good deal.
I'm just another bozo on the bus, man. And it's funny, like in my group, just because I decided one day I didn't like what I was seeing on Facebook, I created a group. Because there's a ton of troll groups out there.
Oh yeah, I know.
And I couldn't stand it. It just drove me nuts. And so I created this. Well, for whatever reason, everybody wants to be friends with the HMFIC.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not my group. This is now your group.
That's what people don't really even with my group, it's not my group. My job in the group is to keep it protected. I
Right.
keep all the
And
rules out. That's all I do.
that's why I call my admins trusted servants.
Yeah, that's because
And we, all I try to do is protect. That's why I have the questions: are you alcoholic? Will you follow the rules? And I don't have a ton of rules, but there's some things you can't do. And the number one thing is be respectful.
Yeah.
It's like, you might have a difference of opinion, and that's way okay. Let's discuss that, because you might change my motherfucking mind.
Yeah.
I might have the wrong idea.
Yeah.
But it's like, everybody wants to, if I post in there, I get these, I get more messages than I get actual comments on my posts. But it's like, everybody wants to like be friends, and it's like, no, that's not the gig, guys. The
Yeah.
gig is the discussion.
Yeah. Yep.
The gig is reaching out and sharing your experiences.
Yeah.
It's not my group.
When I first joined your group, I asked if my stuff was okay. I always do that when I join a group, because some people see my stuff as different, and you were like, hey, there's a couple things on here. If you keep them on here, we can't. It was the donating stuff. So I just took it out. So that way I could hit more, I could be in more places, because carrying the word is a lot more important than a donation.
Right.
And I don't need
Right. We don't allow any solicitation and stuff like that, type of fundraising, blah 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 type things.
Yeah.
It's like, right. That's not the purpose of it. Purpose of it is discussing how we live with this disease we got.
Yeah. Well, and one of our rules in AA is attraction, not promotion. We don't promote.
Right.
We don't have shiny things and bells and whistles. No.
Right.
You create your own shiny things.
I mean, and as far as I know, there is not a online sanctioned group in AA. They don't sanction.
They're not going
groups.
to work a charter,
and nor should they.
No.
But some people say, it's like, you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's like, we're not. This is ultimately, we are a Facebook group.
Yeah.
We just happen to try to follow as closely as possible the principles and their traditions set forth by AAWS.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was try to carry the message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wanted to be able to talk to other alcoholics, myself included, because God knows this thing's still broken. I don't give a fuck if it's 34 years or 34 fucking minutes.
It's true.
I'm still a fucking page 21 drunk.
It's about connection, and we all kind of do, mine's this, I do it this way. We all like our different venues and the way that we do things. And
I thank God for technology to be able to reach out. I mean, last I counted, there was 109 countries represented in that group. They might not all be active, but everything from China to UK, Canada, all of them. I mean, one of my admins is in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah, I'm in Australia too.
Right. And I love it because he's my night watch.
Yeah, they'll send me messages like, I listened to you on the bus here in England. I'm like, that is so cool, man. That is so cool.
It is. It's a trip, dude.
Yeah. I don't even know, and you don't think of it, and you can't. I don't fathom it. It's beyond my finite mind. And these are just the beautiful gifts that we get for, doing what we do. All right. We got another paragraph here.
Sorry.
No, no, not at all. Sometimes this thing goes an hour by myself. So, during this process of learning about more humility, the most profound result of all was the change in our attitude toward God. Ooh. And this was true whether we had been believers or unbelievers. We began to get over the idea that the higher power was sort of a bush league pinch hitter to be called upon only in an emergency. The notion that we would still live our own lives, God helping a little now and then, began to evaporate. Many of us, um, many of us who had thought ourselves religious awoke to the limitations of this attitude. Refusing to place God first, we had deprived ourselves of his help. But now the words, "Of myself I am nothing, the Father doeth the work," began to carry bright promise and meaning. Wow. And I think that's where a lot of the promises start coming true. When we start to, because I'm a belief. It says we'll be amazed before we are halfway through it, and I'm of the belief that it's halfway through the steps, not halfway through the ninth step, because God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself at step 3 when I couldn't stay sober myself, and that's kind of how it started for me. It relieved that obsession for me, and a lot of the promises started coming true. The third step promises definitely started coming true. I like to take the promises when I'm with sponsees, because I have them read out loud, and I haven't changed the pronouns. And I stole this from a friend a few years back. I'm gonna do it out loud here so that everybody kind of see how it goes. So on page 63, and what you do is you change the pronouns to I and me. And what happens is then it's more like this is happening in my life. So instead of reading it, it becomes fact. And then I can gauge. When I sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. I had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what I needed if I kept close to him and performed his work well. And then I think, okay, I'm doing that. Okay, I'm making progress. Established on such a footing, I became less and less interested in myself, my little plans and designs. Yeah. More and more, I became interested in seeing what I could contribute to life as I felt new power flow in, as I enjoyed peace of mind, as I discovered I could face life successfully, as I became conscious of his presence. I began to lose my fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. I was reborn. And it just hits me different. Now instead of saying I'm trying to do it, I'm saying I'm doing it. I've done it. I am reborn. And it just feels a lot different. I always enjoy that.
I equate that to the ninth step, where we're halfway through the ninth step. But what you just said is absolutely true. My life began to change in that very first meeting. Just the fact that I was there, I was doing something different.
Yep.
I mean, God doing for me that what I could not do for myself was a lifelong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of it. I didn't perceive it that way until I got sober and was able to look back on that and go, how the fuck did I get through that? How the hell did I survive that?
Yeah. Reminds me of footprints in the sand.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I wanted to deny that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah.
I wanted to say, no, I just pushed through. I did this. I did that. Yeah. And if I'm honest with myself, I got through it in spite of myself, not because of myself.
Hallelujah.
And how the hell did that happen? Well, like I said before, I have too many instances, too many experiences
Mm-hmm.
of overcoming and getting through something with or without my own efforts,
Mm-hmm.
to deny the fact that there's, I call him God, in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I,
I agree. Yeah, there's too many incidences, coincidences that, and it's not just that, but a lot of times I now get what I want, because my wants are much different than they used to be. Now, before where I'd want material things. Now what I want is peace and harmony among my fellows. And
right. Well,
so,
and I want that because ultimately it benefits me.
well, absolutely, it's selfish.
Yeah, this whole program is selfish as fuck.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You
It's the
know,
right.
well, right. I mean, uh, the things that I've been able to experience and things that I've been able to do, um, are amazing.
Hmm.
And in my life, I mean, totally. I mean, even when I was still out there, um, some of the things that I was able to accomplish before I self sabotaged and brought it all crashing down on myself,
Hmm.
were amazing. And since in the program, it's even more, I don't know, even more profound.
Yeah, yeah.
The,
It
the
gets
things,
bigger.
the things that have happened in my life, you know.
And I think it said it right in the big book where it says humility begins to have a wider meaning.
Oh,
So we
absolutely.
start to see more, and our humility starts to go out this way, and it starts to encompass other people. And for me, humility is also love, and so I can do that unconditionally too.
You really need
That's
to
why.
get that book, A Road Less
Um,
Traveled.
I know it's just $30, so it's kind of. I'm
Is it
probably gonna get
really?
the. Yeah. All the
Go
other
to the
books are like
fucking
12,
go to the
but the
fucking
main
library
one was
and
30.
get it for free
Yeah.
and
I
see if
was
you want
thinking
to
that.
spend $30 later.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so, all
Sometimes
right,
used
man. Well,
bookstores have them too.
do they? Well, I'll just
Yeah,
keep an eye out if I find one, but it is on the top of my reading list right now. So,
it's about learning to love yourself
yeah,
so that you can love others.
there you go. Amber's got a good idea. Buy it
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, buy it secondhand. And then somebody may have their own notes in there and I can learn even more. Yeah, so I'll
Right.
keep an eye out at some thrift stores and stuff. Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that'll be it for this one. I think it's been, you know, it it isn't weird or strange, but it's neat because Facebook kind of shut me down. I got pissed, but all of a sudden these people are showing up and they're joining me. And God is saying, Dion, don't stop. Don't stop. Don't give up. I'm sending people your way. I mean, over the last week, I've had 3 different people pop on and give us a totally different experience. And thank you, God, for that. And thank you everybody for the support. You know, um, it's nice to know. Yeah, we know Dion isn't like that, so we're going to support him, and I appreciate that. Um,
I couldn't have done what I've done without everybody else.
yeah, it takes a tribe. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want it any
Right.
other
Well,
way.
that's
I've got great friends in my life, man.
the whole concept of AA
Yeah,
is the tribe.
yeah, yeah. Sticking in the middle. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And sometimes tribe and family and stuff is going to be, I'm closer to some people that are not blood related than my own blood, you know, and that's because we are different entities, even in our own families sometimes. So that finding home is even more important. So let's make sure we welcome those newcomers home, because AA is home for us. That was the
It
first
is.
place I found it. It was the
You know,
first place
it's
I found
funny.
I was wanted, needed, and loved.
You go in, and there's a lot of metaphors and analogies and what have you about it, but it's like, go tell your story to a stranger
Yeah.
about going, I gotta go get some coffee. I'll be back. And when I did that in the rooms, when I first started to open up and telling about all this horrendous crap,
Yeah.
I didn't get that. What I got was people going, "Yep,"
Yep. Nodding their
and
heads like me too.
that astounded my ass.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
God,
what do
there's
you
people
what do you mean? What do you mean you understand?
Yeah, that was the best thing in the world. I didn't have to walk into AA, and I may cry during this because it means so much to me. All I have to do is walk in and say I'm lonely. I don't have to describe it. I got so tired of describing how lonely I was. It made me feel lonelier because other people didn't understand. They're like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, wow, okay, that was a waste of my time. And I feel even worse, you
Because
know?
everybody knows the hideous four horsemen.
Yep. Yep. And it doesn't matter if they're 16 or 70, male, female, doesn't matter.
That's why I love a vision for you, because of that description.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all one. All right. All right. Gotta get some. I'm gonna go to a noon meeting so I can watch my football today. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Amber, as always, Daryl, it's always good to have you here.
Bye, Amber. Bye, Amber. Send me a friend request, Amber.
Yep. So I'll make sure you two connect. All right. I love you. Peace out.
Peace, love, hope.
And have a day. Oh, you're sharing.